get on.
Yeah, that's the one.
Good morning.
That's the one problem I found with Zoom. Is that when it happens, it's bad.
It was this like
Oh, that's never good.
long, I mean, he could not, the tech guy could not get it shut off. I mean, the longest stream of obscenities that were absolutely like, oh my gosh, it went on forever.
Well, that's my only hesitation why I haven't gone to Zoom yet is because we have a little more control over this.
Right.
Yeah. And it's not as easy maybe for user friendly, but
Yeah, it was.
I don't think I've seen it.
so I'm gonna plug these in if those
Okay.
high, so that way
Let me
these ones are
do
just
let's
charged.
see.
So yeah, you were
I need to move over
what are you looking for?
a drive, but can I take out the mouse drive? Is that a spot?
Yeah.
Is this?
No, I think that's just the thing. Because my computer won't link up here.
Yeah. And that's.
Okay, I think I can, you think this one is
Yeah, you
fine?
can
I think
take that
one
one.
is fine. I think that is it, yeah.
Can you fit it in
I
there
think
with
so.
that?
We'll force
Oh,
it. Not
It
very
go?
well, no?
Yeah.
Yes, it
There you
did.
go.
Cool.
Sweet.
It worked. It's not beautiful.
So
but,
the discussion was, somehow, in last year.
I'm gonna press record on this.
Okay.
Andy.
Ended up a little bit of it sounds like kind of a debacle.
Mm-hmm.
And she had no idea even that there was supposed to be a Santa and that it changed. So anyway, let's do some more digging. I'll dig into it, but we for sure want to make sure we know where it is.
Right.
And then that it then gets used for all of the necessary and appropriate things.
That's fine.
Perfect.
Because if it's not going to do.
Are most people coming, or are we
doing- We have a couple that are going virtual. Nikki cannot be here. And then Brian and Josh, I think, are both calling in.
Yeah, gosh, for such a small community,
Are we doing the bylaws conversation today?
We are,
Well, things are different.
Amy had messaged me and I suggested maybe we plan a meeting, we bring it up, but then plan to have see if we could do a committee meeting on it.
I totally agree.
It sounds like last year.
I think, what I hope we could talk about today is people have read it.
I hope so, because
And
people did not get back to me. Yeah.
I totally agree.
They did not get back to me with, I think only Tim was about the only one that
I
maybe
think
had.
most people have definitely somebody do it.
So that was kind of my recommendation on that.
Absolutely.
Oh, the printer was not letting me out. So,
Absolutely.
Morning, Brian.
So anyway, we'll figure that out.
oh, he's so quiet. Let's see if we can turn him up. Hi, Brian. You're very quiet. Yeah, I know. It's the first time, right?
It is.
Are you feeling better today?
I am. It's perfect to break up.
Good. Oh, we can hear you now. We can hear you now.
Okay, great.
Okay. So, as long as I don't bump you, Kathy. Brian, can you see Kathy on YouTube?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Baker.
Morning, Josh.
Good morning.
Hit your hit. You did hit me.
Good morning.
Hey there, how are you doing?
There he is with that Coca-Cola again.
Oh, yeah.
It happens. A lot of hiccups, but it happens.
Reading how bad. Oh, no. 17 Diet Coke today is.
Well,
How bad 16 is? No.
no, see, the 17 that pushes you out.
There's two on the
I know.
phone.
Trickling in.
We're not even a quorum yet.
Everybody else except for Nikki said they're gonna be here, so
We'll
we'll give them a couple minutes.
They do? Holy one.
Actually, they have another side.
So how many people ended up coming to the wedding?
33.
Oh, that's nice.
44 hours, yeah.
What's,
Even the outdoor garden
By the way, we have your.
The garden staff came in with a measuring stick and pushed the chairs all 6 feet apart.
Oh, you're kidding.
And much to my surprise, well, there's an outdoor mass group in Rhode Island, but I thought we would be okay, except for the family. Every single guest was masked during, and it was hot during.
Wow.
Where in
Newport. That's the last from, ours, she's summers there, 5 generations.
Oh.
Oh, that's lovely.
Black Pearl Cafe.
Yeah, so
They have.
In
I got a
Newport.
complaint
Oh
today
my
about it,
gosh.
so I won't talk to the young
Yeah.
kid and said,
That's
hey,
exactly
you got
right.
3 feet to understand, but it's just how.
And the weather was-
Stunning. It was about 80, the service was at 5, which was smart, because it wasn't warm. I had my granddaughter with me.
You have the right to say what you want to say.
He walked down the aisle
But
with,
people phone a time,
one of the-
first they see it might get a-
and we got it, but it was so hot.
Sorry.
It's not so season, but I already told her, he gets hot. So in the middle of the service, I knew he was hot. So I sent him a shoulder, and
It might be blocking us. Let me write down your email. Make sure we have it.
And then like.
And, because I have.
Makes it happen.
Morning. Haven't seen you in so long.
There's
Two people outside talking. So.
Okay.
How are you, dear?
Good. Good. I feel like I haven't
Happy
seen you.
birthday, congratulations. I know.
Thank you.
I've been spending him.
It's been a
No, since his, when was that?
Well, you were at the last meeting. The last board meeting. Oh, I've seen you, but it just feels long. Feels long.
I was sitting too apart.
Startup, kind of a.
We're just kind of distanced around. Brian and Josh are on the phone.
Let me, I will double check.
Here, there's 2 people outside.
We have you with this Edward Jones one.
I heard that Jody said there's 2 people outside.
Check your-
We were down there for him, but he was outside.
No, Tim's right there.
I was mad yesterday. So I got over it.
Hi, Amy.
Jody, how are you?
Good, how are you, dear?
Did you go get that so we can start?
Thank you.
No, they're-
Yeah, that's not-
When we get to the
Oh,
That's a cute story about the store.
Oh my gosh.
You're like, do I really want to go? Oh, okay.
It's so disgusting from the outside.
I saw the other one on there. It looks great. So the other day when I.
Did you buy anything?
Oh, God. After the Indian session last week, I didn't get into the.
I just excited. I tried not to turn around and say.
If it's all by yourself.
I'm okay. I know, that's it. It's like a, am I leaving the nest?
I don't want to block, my head is so big, I don't want to block it.
Everybody just keeps getting bigger and bigger as you get older. It happens that way.
Comes with the job.
No, that's.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. We're gonna call this to order.
Good morning, Mrs. Bright.
Fine teacher.
I'll start with roll
Paul's
call.
still coming? But
Nope, I think this is it.
can't, oh, Tim just walked in. Okay, we're in. We're all here. Let's
Okay,
go.
so I will call roll
Roll
call.
call.
Kathy Breitner,
Here.
Matt Bugera,
Here.
Tim Knapp,
Here.
Josh Baker,
Here,
Jody Eubank,
Here.
Nikki, I know is gone, Dana Mulder,
Here.
Brian Bedini,
here,
Amy Gillard.
Here.
Okay, we are all here.
Okay. Minutes of our meeting of July 2nd. We're in your packets. Any comments, corrections?
I did read them. I move that we accept the minutes.
Support? Support. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Move past the minutes. So we are now into public comment. No one has a thing to say to us this morning? Okay,
Okay.
let's move into item number 5,
Okay.
COVID-19 updates and issues.
Okay, I'll start. Street music has started and has
Almost
been,
done.
yes, I know.
2 weeks
It's been a long
Go by so
stretch
fast,
between
you
the
know.
meetings. And I think it's been a really good turnout and really successful, closing the road and having the music all over. It would be, I know we talked about that it would be nice, it's been mentioned to me, even nice would be nice possibly having some sort of music weekly. And I've had been approached by one group about doing like a Sunday jazz thing. And then I know Bonnie and I met and we talked about, possibly doing Friday night music in the Marina Park. So it's just something to think about, I think, with,
How do we pay for that?
well,
Okay,
hopefully
all right.
we'll be working our way towards that, right? The picnic tables are in, the sail shades are being installed, the concrete's in, and they are going to be installed, I think, tomorrow
By
night.
the end of the day tomorrow,
Yeah.
I'm hoping
That's, okay,
nothing bad happens.
so that's kind of
Will
that.
it stay up all year or come
No.
down? Okay.
It'll come down probably whenever we feel like we slow down.
Well, I could just see them being a great spot to hide under if it's snowing too, but I get it.
I just wanted to make one comment on the shade situation in addition to that. I don't know if you guys have read the Harbor Light paper, but Andy Wolf had an article in there in support of trees. And why aren't we doing something with the jewel in our city? And
If only people understood why we're not doing things down there, that's probably our fault for not better explaining that we're on hold. So,
Yep, I know. It's one small little sliver of the whole park though. And I know we'll just probably wait till next year. It's a
Well-
back burner thing, but I think there is support out in the community for doing something really nice, really classy with trees and make it the jewel. Because right now it's not looking so good.
it will. We get the building moved.
That is the ultimate question, is if and when are we gonna get that building moved, the parking lot redesigned, the park redesigned? So
Yeah.
that's a question for Harbor Commission and Council to consider. I mean, we've right now put it on hold based on the fact that we assume that we're gonna redo that building, but we just don't know when. So, I mean, that's.
So I
how
just
can
hate
we-
to see year after year nothing happening.
That's,
And it's
Good
just a
point.
small part of the park. I feel like, we could still have a nice plan and do something nice with that space. It wouldn't have anything to do with if that building goes or doesn't go.
well, I think that's a good point. I don't think we should piecemeal that part, that green space. That's the one, if we do a little sliver and then we completely do something different with the other, I think it should be a plan. We
It
have a
would
plan
be
for
a
the whole
master
park.
plan. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It would be a master plan, but we could implement part of it. It just doesn't look good right now.
We just have to come up with a plan before we do anything. And that's the-
Well, I'd be glad to, grant us to the city, but, I don't know, I don't know how that happens.
I don't know what
or
we could do that
If
would
we,
be,
if we spent too much money this year and
Yeah.
we shouldn't consider it this year, or work on it over the winter maybe.
I don't think we have money to do it this year, A, and B, we also have to take into account that that space is used for.
large gatherings.
And we
Gatherings
would,
as well.
and there has to be space for a tent and all that, and all of that would be considered in the master plan. So I don't know what the way forward would be on this, maybe we just, well, we had a lot of projects this year and bring it up again.
Yeah.
I think what we can do as the council, I think the best thing we can do is consider it when we do our capital improvements planning, bring up that issue and say, this has been brought up again. When do we want to put this on our agenda? When can we fit it on our planning? So.
Is that like November timeframe?
It's about November, yeah.
Even if we had a smaller committee meeting to try to tackle that and present it to this group, I mean, that could be something.
Do you think, so perhaps we should let the public know, because it has been a long time, and a lot of people think that, we're gonna end up looking like Charlottesville with the dancing
I think it's because the thing is
Yeah.
pushing it. I'm gonna have
We
to
should
move
probably
over.
update them on what our intentions are and what the time frame is on
I
it.
think it's because it's pushing
But-
over there.
I don't know.
If
Kathy doesn't have such luck getting press releases in the paper.
No, Margaret can do that. If we've got if we know it's gonna be a couple years out before we think we can proceed, then we look at what we can do that's not expensive, can be altered. That would
Where it
be,
doesn't need to be altered because it's part of the master plan.
well, we know what that space is going to look like when we're done. So whatever we do
So it's waiting
temporarily
video,
has to
Victor.
flow into what that's going to look like.
Exactly.
That plan is already done for this.
So maybe we need to
Setting.
have a downtown enhancement committee meeting to talk about this. And I think one of the first things we might like to do is have like a little community focus group or something, and see what people in the community might like to see. So that's one way to approach it. The other way would be just to draw something up that they can react to, or draw something up that would be a couple of scenarios that could go this way or this way.
Keep in
There we
mind,
go.
this is a harbor commission. Deal, not ours.
All right,
So we have to partner with people.
so Harbor Commission, it would come out
They're in
of their
charge of
budget
that.
if we build out that part.
Well,
They've already got it done.
they have all the plans for the building and have a design for the park, reconfiguring the parking lot and the park. So ultimately, it's a council decision, but they're the one that's been spearheading the process because they're the one that the harbor master building is being built for, essentially, for the waterfront. So they've been spearheading this process. I'm saying that they're the ones that are gonna give the ultimate stamp of approval on it, but they've been doing this for 6 years now, maybe 7.
Yeah.
But what I saw was basically, a site plan where it takes out the parking lot by the pier, and there isn't really much else developed in that part, so.
No, I haven't got that far yet.
We had a design firm that worked with us on that and we put it together. So
And we didn't put money, we put that on hold,
Yeah.
spending money on that whole project on hold because it was,
Yeah.
the design team just kept on spending money on that and we had no idea where it was going or when it was gonna continue, so.
But they had a lot of ideas. We should go back at least and look at Laura's suggestions on that.
So what do you think the way forward then?
It's not an easy, I mean, we have to make a decision, right? Do we want to go ahead with designing a sliver of the park when we don't know if the harbor master or when the harbor master building is gonna go up and that this parking lot's gonna be redesigned? I mean, that's in a way, it's a small risk. I mean,
Well,
we
when
can
you
have
say
a,
a sliver, really, a sliver is harbor master.
Yeah. I'm not the one that answered that question, I should say. It's not ultimately my decision. I can make recommendations, but it's not ultimately my decision. I mean, the council and harbor commission decide when and how they're going forward with the harbor master building.
I think if you want to do it, I think one way to do it is talk about the downtown enhancement committee, talk to JB and say, JB, this is what we're thinking. Do we want to work together on a master plan that covers the entire waterfront with moving the building or not moving the building? Can there be something done as a stepping stone along the way there?
And I
If
think,
you have a total plan, then you could start working on pieces if they work into the plan.
and just as important, right now, we're going through the master planning process. So, I mean, this is a good time to get public input on what the public in general wants, what to do with that green space before we move forward with any kind of design on it. Because that's one of the most prized parks in the city, it's right there in the waterfront. So we get public input that says, well, we don't want to use it for anything else other than X, Y, or Z. I mean, there can be a lot of ideas on what we could use that green space for. So I think before we even move forward with designing anything, we've got to get that master plan process, get that input from the public on what they want to see with that park and our other parks and how we can integrate all those together. So I don't think we should rush into making a design, not knowing what the public really wants with that spot. But obviously, there are people who want certain things.
Why don't we pull the committee back together and talk about some directional maybe pursue?
I saw Matt smile when we talked about public input, and I think.
How did you see a smile on there?
I was thinking the same thing. I would prefer to see a survey sent out rather than gather people in a room.
That's what, we're not gathering people in the room for planning process.
That's safe anyway.
We already had 2 or 3 different consultants' version of what to do with the water.
Yes, we do.
They're all paid for by whoever wanted their goal met.
Where are those?
Probably in the
We've got it all.
garbage by now.
I mean, do we have a city, can we pull those together to look? And then the survey thing, I think, works pretty well. It's funny when that after that meeting about the dog park, I had like a bunch of people come up to me, they're like, the whole Harbor Springs is a dog park, why don't we need a dog park? And I'm like, well, because of the survey results, but it was kind of, that prompted a lot of discussion.
Everything will.
I'd like to just touch on that. I know there's a lot of dogs in our town, and that's probably a good reason to have a dog park, but they have to be on a leash everywhere. So like a dog park allows them to be off the leash and run, be healthy, animals. So although there are a lot of dogs, they really shouldn't have them off the leash. The one park where they are off the leash is right in the backyard here.
Yeah.
And that might be a good spot for a dog park.
Yeah.
Small one.
Okay, keep moving on. What else do
Moving
you have?
on, I have had a couple complaints, just because, I know. Actually, we've had very few complaints, so, obviously, we know the town's really busy right now, but with parking and the parking sign by the post office, not, the 15-minute not being there anymore, and, that people feel like there's, they can't run into the post office because that whole thing is now being taken up with visitor parking. So I don't know
Is there a reason
if that's.
The handicap parking?
No, it wasn't just, there's a handicap parking, but there used to be a sign that said, 10 or 15 minutes right at the post office, on those spots.
A year ago, state did a re-signing project all the way down 119. I think it started over at 31. And they pulled all the old signs and put in new signs. And they took any signs that they felt weren't part of under their master plan, and they pulled them, including that wasn't necessarily designated, it's a state highway, and it wasn't designated to be a 15-minute spot, so they pulled that sign because it wasn't authorized under their master plan. I talked to Dennis down at the post office, their 15-minute spot is actually supposed to be around the corner where they park to gather their mail. In their parking area, that's where the handicap and the 15-minute spot is supposed to be. I understand, because I see it all the time, people park there and go to Johann's, and they sit there for an hour and a half, it doesn't provide the elderly a spot to park. So in the meantime, in the morning, when the people are loading their trucks for the rural routes, they park on the side of the building. In reality, that, from what I was told, is that's supposed to be the short-term parking.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's right, I'm just saying that that's what I was told. I'm not pulled the signs in reference to the handicap and to that spot. And so.
What happens if we snuck them back up?
Ask for
I don't have-
permission later.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't care, that's not my decision, but
Can we sneak them back up?
I'm working on that on a few different
Okay.
things, so I don't want to get under your skin.
Okay.
you pick your battles,
All right.
I'd say,
Okay.
like bike paths and stuff like
With
that.
like half and 119, the block, so.
Do you really think anybody's gonna notice a?
They did last
15.
time.
Okay, let's get through this
Yep.
season and his issues and see.
I understand, I see it all the time. We do, that's our 3-hour parking, and we do the talking there, but it doesn't prohibit somebody from parking there for an hour.
Okay.
If anything, sorry.
Okay.
You contact the post office and just express the concern to them as well.
Okay.
Thanks.
And I don't think on the back of the building it says that you can do 15-minute.
It does not say
There's
that.
no signs there at
No,
all.
not around the, around the corner, so that, if they think that's where people should park,
You should tell them.
Yeah, maybe it
Yeah.
is, put a sign up there.
yeah. Not to encourage it, but yeah.
So that's, the next one was the sidewalk sale. It's been canceled. The chamber decided to go ahead and cancel that. There's, I guess I can let you mention that, Bonnie, as to why. And I did want to look at whether, I know if people are planning to do virtual sidewalk sales, like I don't know if you saw in Petoskey, Grandpa Shorter's is doing one. I mean, if we can, if they want to get information to us or to the chamber or both, we could get that out there if they're planning to do, say, a virtual sidewalk sale. But maybe you could explain a couple of reasons of why it was canceled. There was a couple
Sure,
reasons, yeah.
well, we really felt like we couldn't assure people's safety outside with moving all of the sale items out to the sidewalk. because masks are not required outside. And so how in the world can we guarantee 6 feet of social distancing? We can't, there's not enough of us to be able to police that and pay attention and make sure people are following those rules. We didn't think that, the merchants or their staff would necessarily be safe, and we didn't think that that would be a good idea. The one thing that we have done, and we've emailed and followed up by Gun, and we're starting to get good feedback on asking all of the merchants in the area, and we've taken the information to those who are not members of the chamber. We've visited everybody in the downtown as well as others, just saying, let us know when you're doing your sale, whatever that sale might be, and how you're doing it. So that sort of would include virtual. If whatever they're doing, let the chamber know and we will put it out there. So today's newsletter has a very large section.
It's great.
Who's doing what and when. So we're happy to continue to support that. We figure that that's at least a roundabout way to help with the closure of sidewalks.
The next update was the business survey. I sent out a business survey and got back pretty much everybody. It was good news. I mean, business is lower than in previous years, but is better than they expected for this year, I guess, is pretty much the overwhelming response that I got. They are not having problems, creating safe work environments or providing protective equipment. Their costs are definitely higher, and they feel like people are comfortable being in buildings. And the restaurants, I think the response is more where some of the people would prefer to be outside eating, which we know. But I think all in all, it was a really positive survey as far as just where we would expect to be at this point, given this year. And of course, revenues are down and traffic is, business is slower, but it's better than what it should be. One of the comments that I got, which I thought was particularly important, was a couple of people have asked that we keep some of the protocols in place, like the sandwich boards and some of the concessions that have been made this year due to coronavirus, and keep them available for future years. So I did pass that along to Victor and to Jeff, and he's going to bring that back up at the Planning Commission meeting so that people, that the Planning Commission understands that people are really finding those to be helpful marketing tools, helpful for their business even, and they think they could go forward with it. And I don't think Jeff and I talked, and he said he has not had anybody, kind of complain about the different, the sandwich boards and different things that are out there. Nobody's complaining about unsightliness or anything like that. So it seems to be working, and I think people really appreciate the efforts that have been made this year, and would like to see them continue.
I have just a question. Did we ever order those hand sanitizing stations for the main corners? We were talking about ordering 5.
No, those were way too out to order, so we decided not to do it. We can look into it in the fall, but I don't. It just didn't seem feasible to. By the time we got the shipment, it would probably be mid to late August. So I just didn't think it was feasible to do that. And all our traffic was pedestrian traffic that ended in September. So
I think it's still a good idea.
it may be a good idea, and especially.
It's not going to go away.
It's not going to go away. Yeah, they do have they have them at Charlevoix, I think, or the Traverse City. Traverse City has them.
Yes.
I think they're.
Are they fairly sturdy?
You have to essentially secure them to the ground. So
I know the ones we have, if you buy the product, Purell will supply the machine. And then it just takes batteries to,
separate.
Is
So
it
you-
freestanding then, Julie?
freestanding, you just stick your hand underneath there and it detects that, and then the sanitizer comes out.
Where's yours located?
I have 3 of them in the restaurant,
And inside, okay.
inside.
Does it seem like something that could be outside?
I don't, that's why I asked Vince, Vince, see, the first day I met him, I called him Vince.
Yeah.
Victor.
Thanks, full circle.
They're,
The ones for indoors are different. They're plastic, aren't they?
yeah,
They're plastic, yeah.
but I don't know if Purell offers something that's, and I can have my chef look into it. if
Oh, you know, Lucas has looked into it.
Oh, okay.
It's not so much the posts themselves. It was problem is the refills was the bigger problem of, there's such a long back order on the actual refill of the
Really?
sanitizer. Yeah, for the pump. So the soap ones were available, but as far as the sanitizer ones.
Could you not use the gypsy vodka sanitizer?
If you want to smell like an alcoholic all day long.
You think it smells like?
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
Usually,
Yes.
one of my clients is the hand sanitizer company. They don't have a problem getting anybody the product. IGA just got on these signs with Costco. If you want to name a number of a guy where you can get them. They also have the stands like they have at Johan. Those metal ones that you step on, they're mechanical, so there's no batteries. If you want that information, we'll get to you.
Oh,
Yeah.
They have shipping pallets and pallets and pallets of 16 ounce, 32 ounce, half gallon, gallons. I visited the factory in Lansing, pretty nice outfit. But it started 8 months ago because Purell couldn't keep up with it and their sales was like,
Would have been a good insider tip.
Although I'm seeing more and more people on the sidewalk pull off their container from their pocket or purse and use
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's more available now.
Yeah, it is, and they get what they want, the product they want.
even down the line, 2 years from now, I think it would be a nice, it'd be a nice gesture of hospitality in our town to have.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think we would have to figure out, the permanent locations we would want them at, if it's gonna be a multi-year thing, you know. Sidewalks has always been an issue about, you know, creating clutter on the sidewalks. Do we want it parks against certain buildings? So those are just questions we have to ask. It would have been one thing for a few months to just put it up on the sidewalk, everyone get, but if it's gonna be a multi-year thing, we wanna really think about strategic locations for putting them.
Do you want us to consider it at the downtown enhancement?
No, we can do it among staff and then,
Okay.
I don't think I need to be considered in a committee, but it's up to you guys.
So unless anybody has any other COVID updates, we can go on to the Downtown Enhancement Committee. I'm trying. It's not working really well. I've lost my blue button now, so I'll try another one.
The USB.
I'm fighting with it. Being a bit of a fight this thing today. Let's see.
The next item is downtown enhancement.
Yes. The Downtown Enhancement Committee met and talked specifically about the tree grate project, and kind of a way forward. I know, we then went back to council and kind of got, I say, a slight go ahead to go, you know, to continue looking at the tree grate project in, you know, the different options and possibly pursue this and see what if we can find a way forward with it, I guess. And what I found out is I've talked with, from that meeting we went with, that I was going to talk to some of the different the vendors themselves to see if we could look at some of the costs. And I've talked to both Alan Jims and Mark Johansson. They're in the process of getting me quotes. I did meet with Joe at Benchmark. He really felt like, I mean, obviously the most inexpensive option would be to just saw cut the holes where they are, remove the trees, saw cut the holes back 12 inches, make them large enough for the, if we wanted just the bare bones, get the grates, put trees back in, either the same ones and then see whether those die or replace all of the trees. I mean, that's kind of a question of, whether that, but as far as keeping the project, if we went with the larger scope, he didn't see a lot of cost saving we could choose to phase it into blocks or phase it into sides of roads, but the things that we were worried about, traffic and mobilization, they're still going to be there because the company is going to, whether it's Harbor Axe or Elmer's, they're going to put that back in somewhere at some point. I did talk with Squires and I talked with Dan here, and there's some real concerns with the electric. And as far as Squires did not feel comfortable doing the junction boxes. And I know in the Downtown Enhancement Committee, there was some concern about doing 38 pole boxes next to the trees. And so we did some investigating and Dan and I spoke and he said that in Petoskey and Charlevoix both, they light the trees from above and use outlets that are in the lampposts up, higher. And he suggested maybe that's something, if we are going to pursue even downtown lighting at some point, maybe we remove the lighting from this project and put that, then we don't have to bore underground, we don't have to go across streets, and we can look in. Well, he was gonna look more and see if we can find even find a prototype of how they're using it. But he knows that so it's not every block because they're a little bit more frequent than every block. But the lamp posts are have outlets kind of higher up, and then they run them the wiring from above to each tree.
So we still have that $8,000 a year to.
It could, and when I asked Dan about it, I asked him if he thought that it would be less expensive, and he said it could be if it was a more standardized. He said part of the problem for them with what they have now is the trees are so not uniform, and so some tree needs to be is really big and one's really little, and so it takes more work. Where if everything was more uniformly put with a smaller uniform tree, then it would make the whole process a little bit more expedient. But yes, it would still have to come along and do that.
You wouldn't have to. You could do holiday lighting. I talked to them multiple times. They could wrap the trees like they do on 3rd Street, which looks a lot better than Main Street. And then, in my opinion, and then you could just light it from the top if you want.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, I really think you should contact Bear River Electric because they did the 3rd Street project. They already have history on there. You could do a junction box at one block, or it's just somebody that's already done it. I don't know why we should ask them. I did ask them if they want to come out and talk to you. They said they'd be happy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to keep it local, but last time Squire wanted to charge us $50,000 in electric, and Bear River did it for, $30,000. So I don't know, we probably should.
And we can definitely talk to them. I think that the issue is the GFI that they just it keeps coming back to both.
So we don't have the answer question.
Yeah.
That question answered it.
No.
Is there any kind of solar option? Searching right
haven't.
now, but
I don't know if they're anything like a solar pathway. Both are usually not that effective.
In the winter.
In the winter, we just don't get that much sunlight, and then they're kind of weak and
But that would,
it'd be a great idea if we had more sun in the winter.
So if you did wrap them from the top, go the electric from the top, you still could have holiday lighting wrap the trees and then plug them in when you want to plug them in.
kind of unplug it.
Then it's not $8,000 a year for our city staff to do it. It's one time, $15,000 to wrap the trees. And
Right.
there's no more cost after that except for the maintenance, which
Mhm.
we'll have.
That was a big chunk of that tree big project,
It's a good option.
something we should.
Yeah.
consider.
So that's where we are until I hear more from the trees. But as far as, I know I had John Cups looked at the concrete numbers themselves. And all of that pretty much is in line with what it should be. So,
Good.
I mean, that's kind of where we're at with that.
Okay,
Sorry about the flickering. Promotions committee. We met and then we didn't get to meet because it's just been super busy for everybody, I think, in the summer. We are now at almost 1,000 followers on our Instagram, which is great. And then the one thing I did want to bring up was the Ice Fest. And where we felt like that, because obviously the promotions committee needs to meet starting in September if we're going forward.
What did we make off that?
8.
I think it ended up being more like 5, but
Okay.
it was, yeah.
To me, it all comes down to money.
Was it mostly from the chili cook-off or what was?
No.
It was
Sponsors.
the ice sculpture sponsor.
I don't know about the chili cook-off for this year.
Good point.
You know,
Right.
I don't think people are really doing buffet style stuff.
Yeah, we couldn't do it. Unless there's something comes on quickly in December that changes the
It's
setting.
so much fun, but.
Outdoor?
I don't know how we could really.
Outdoor chili fest,
Like you said, outdoor.
an outdoor chili
Yeah.
fest.
Yeah.
Well,
They do it a lot of other states, they do it outdoors, yeah. I mean, when I lived in Vermont, every town did it outdoors. I don't know if we have the infrastructure. Oh, yeah,
well, maybe
everywhere.
we should look at that. I think it could be fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They usually have like a live band or something and they do it outdoors.
We did it 1 year at Wallstrom's. When the chamber when the chamber had it and everybody complained.
Well, it's a different environment. I think people will understand why we can't do
It's,
what we normally do.
yes.
So it's either this or nothing, and I think people would be fine with that.
I think it'd be really fun.
Victor, how is it done? Are they under tent? Are they in
The chili-
stations?
Yeah, they're under tents. People are just dressed up in winter gear and they're going to chili.
Like little 10 by 10, people bring their own tent, and their own.
How do they put the tents up in the
Well,
snow?
we could do it over at Wallstrom's if they would allow us to do it.
It has to be outside though.
Well, they're kind of outside with the garage doors open.
But they're gonna have all their boats in there too. 'cause they're
Yeah,
using it
Yeah,
for
it's winter.
storage.
Yeah.
So the ones I went to, they usually close down the street and they do it on the street.
Oh,
Oh,
that's how you put a tent up easily in
oh,
snow. Because
there you go.
it's gone.
It's already gone.
Snow's
Mhm.
gone.
Gone, yeah. there's no-
Yeah.
So,
We have some challenges where you plug in crack pots and that kind of thing, but we could probably figure that out, right?
Oh, I know where all the electrical outlets are.
It's just a suggestion.
Extension cord.
Yes, we've gone through this a few times. Good idea. Well, I guess for me, the direction is going to be, should we or can we get money from our normal sponsors, given the setting that we are in economically? But we also know that this event was very successful, and it's an outdoor event, so it's not, people are already fairly well covered in the winter. But we should get the committee together, your committee together, and maybe do some questions of some of the people who were involved last year, what they feel.
Has Nikki made any comments about whether or not she would do it again?
Neither.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
So we can meet on it
Yeah.
and see how we feel like if we want to go forward. But we just, if the group as a whole is ready to,
Okay.
to agree with that.
Well, I don't think we'd have to reinvent the wheel.
No, it's just whether we feel we
Right.
could do.
Mhm.
I know it's important to make money this year, would be helpful if we could help our people. But that's up to you, your committee to figure out the path for us.
Mhm. Yeah, we could possibly go another route with sponsorships too.
Yeah. Good point.
Okay, finance. The only finance update, or I shouldn't say the only, the main finance is in regards to the county TIF. And so since I think right before we had met in July, Victor and I had met with Michael Reeve and had started that process. And since then, we haven't really, he had requested a lot of information from the DDA as far as projects that we're working on, and I think that was in your packet that I sent you, of the different projects that are currently possibly, that we're looking at as a DDA, because that was one of the things that he was under the impression kind of that there are rumors and all different things. And so as far as what they had in their mind about what we were going to use the TIF money for, didn't line up. And then he had a list of questions for Victor. And
I pass them on to Nick.
Mostly in regards to the city's operating budget. And I don't know, Victor, if you want to.
I mean, it was
On anything.
basically questions, about, is the city really running a deficit? Are we really, because we showed it the last 2 years with the FEMA project and other project that we're in the hole. So he was trying to get at, are we being responsible with our money, but not realizing that. Actually, I don't even think it was him. I think it was our rep. We had those questions for Michael, Charlie McGinnis. And so just asking questions about, is the city being responsible with its money? And obviously they didn't see that we have, in the bank, several $1 million. So that deficit was planned for with the FEMA project. But anyway, I don't know what point he was trying to make, Charlie, with those questions, but I mean, we explained it to him, so.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's kind of, the ball's in their court. He said he was going to work to set up some meetings with me and individual commissioners. And I have not heard anything back from him since he's received all of this information, when those meetings are going to take place. But hopefully he'll be moving
Do I need a statement from the AG on this? No.
We need to
Yeah.
pursue this path. This is a good path. We're making progress.
At what point can we, a little nudge or something like, hey, are you coming with meetings or?
Yeah, and I'm in correspondence with him, and it's just, I don't know whether it's summer or not, but I mean, that was the first with Charlie McGinnis, that was the first kind of reach out and with him.
If I can make a suggestion on your finance, you guys, as a group, the DDA has come up with a lot of creative ways to spend money, but you have yet to come up with a creative way to generate any money for your group.
Well, you know what our limitations are.
No, I don't.
Okay, we're basically a taxing authority. We are funded only 2 ways, special assessment and TIF. What do you have in mind?
I don't know, write grants,
Done that?
come up with another way to tax people.
You want to pay that?
I don't want to, but why couldn't the people who come to Harbor Springs pay for it?
How?
With a business tax, 1% business tax or 0.5% business tax. I mean, there's got to be another way. Otherwise, this is all mute. I mean, from a council perspective, we're tired of supporting. I mean, we pay for most of your projects or the DDA project.
Well, if you're willing to go for paid parking, we wouldn't have to talk about
Yeah,
this.
but the parking's not going to pay for it. You guys
Yeah.
need, or we need hundreds of thousands of dollars. And parking's not going to generate hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, I think as a DDA, we need to figure out how to get some money to do these projects.
The only way
Well-
we can effectively get the money is to make people within the CBD pay for it.
Well, then, we did the dollar,
That's in place.
right? Maybe we make it $10.
It doesn't.
Well, and
Maybe,
we've
but I
talked,
think it'd be a problem.
and we've talked, Nick and Victor and I've talked a lot about that, because our options are the TIFs. And obviously, I think we went over it at the last meeting, our capture from the city and then our capture for what we would get at the county, it has increased like 4-fold in the past year, partly in, because of the projects and the building that's going on. So, I mean, we could legitimately think that a year with those retail spaces leased out and business, I mean, that could continue to maybe another fourfold on that end. Along with, we did talk about, we do have the $1 a day assessment, which could be a raise. We can go the route of a millage, taking up to one mil, I think is what we're allowed. We could possibly do half a mil. So there are options if we want to go that route, and if we feel like people would. And then I know John and I have even spoken about possibly looking at one of the, and I know it's been looked at in the past on the DDA board, is making one of the lots like a business permit lot, and I mean, so that we do have, I think there are some options, and I think we should look at all of them as see whether they're feasible and what kind of response we would get if any. Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. No, my question to Matt is, do you see the DDA as even a viable committee, or would you just like to see it go away?
I mean, I think it's a viable committee, but I think the funding is the issue. I mean, you guys come up with great ideas and, don't seem to have any problem figuring out ways to spend money. Trying to generate income is the problem. I mean, if you were a business, you've been out of business 10 years ago. You can't operate.
Well, just because you sit in the spot that you do, let me just say, if it was turned around and I ran, which I can't, but so I ran and I'm the mayor and you're on the DDA, I might feel the same way, but when you're not mayor anymore, are you not gonna feel as though that someone needs to still be working on these projects? Because Harbor Inc.'s not working on any projects. The city definitely isn't working on any projects and doesn't have the staff that other cities do, as far as like, they even have event coordinators in lots of cities that run events. And as of this year, not only last year when we didn't even have COVID, did the chamber knock out pretty much all the events, no offense, Bonnie wasn't here. Then you give us some direction. I guess I just see a lot of negativity from the standpoint from you, and no one else really ever complains as though we're all working together to try for a common goal.
No, I mean, let's take the tree base. Okay, the city budgeted $100,000 for another gift to the DDA.
Okay, is it a necessary thing?
It's not a necessary project, but it was something that the council thought would enhance the downtown. So anyways, we give you $100,000 and you turn it into, this grand scheme. And we're like, no, we aren't gonna pay for all that. You guys, the DDA needs to either fund part of it or do something within that $100,000 budget. But I guess the long-term problem is every time you guys come up with a project, the city ends up paying for it, or not every.
So what else has the city paid for this?
We paid for the Spring Street parking lot to get done. I think we paid for half the wayfinding.
Did we pay for any wayfinding downtown within the
The
city?
city would have done anyways though, and we're, I don't know, I would see us sort of as, I agree, we definitely could look for more ways to fund things, but, maybe another way to look at it is we're sort of a planning resource for the city. We've got the time, we've got the energy, the enthusiasm to come up with really good solutions for things the city would be doing anyways, but maybe doesn't have the time to look into. So it would be a city budget item, like the city's gonna need to update the trees and do something about the tree grades anyway, so
The city hasn't done anything about tree breaks and
I know.
as long as the city's been. here. So
Exactly,
that's- I don't think that's an issue for the city. I think that's something you want to.
You don't think the people at Harbor Springs still want to see a nicer downtown? For example, a nicer park or better
I mean, the
lighting?
park's fine, but I mean, have we ever gotten any comment about the tree pit? Other than people tripping on it and they looked at it.
Well, that's pretty good comments right there. That's part of the reason we went for this, was safety.
But, I mean, for $100,000, you could have beautified the tree breaks. At least you could have hired someone
We're not done.
to do some.
We're trying to find a
research.
way to get those prices down. It was certain, as you know, it certainly wasn't something we were happy about when those dollars came back.
Right.
Just the discussion we had on lighting could cut back quite a bit of that. We're not done. And I don't think, and I didn't expect to present it and have you say yes. I was hoping you'd tell us, go back and figure it out, which is what we're doing,
Right.
instead of shutting us down. And, you know, we're doing that. And you're completely right on financing. The difficulty with the structure of a DDA is we're gonna have to ask everybody in the CBD to ante up. And we have felt uncomfortable in asking for more, particularly in this environment. We've got a couple more years on our TIF and assessment. As we move there, we should look at it, and I think I agree with you on upping the $1 a day. We looked hard last time around at the square footage assessment versus the blanket. We should look at that again. I totally agree, we need more money.
Yeah.
From the financing point, I'll just say is that we have, either someone's gonna have to eat the cost if we wanna do these projects, either the CBD or the general taxpayer. Or we push away projects that would come from our capital improvements plan to spend money on DDA projects. Is cut the rollback for the rollback tax, for the general tax, or we increase the CBD taxes. I mean, those are not, if we want to go ahead with all these. So either way, someone's gonna have to pay for it, if we wanna do all these projects.
Yeah, he's right.
So there's options, and we could do both.
Okay, so you
We
say
can do both.
if we want to do these projects, so let me ask a question, and I don't mean this in a smart ass manner.
Mhm.
Would the council like to take on the tree grades?
I mean, if the council takes it, that means it puts it on me as staff. to
No,
do-
what, I
to
mean,
do the
I mean,
work.
count the people that sit on council.
I mean, ultimately, we do need more money. I look at the whole project as all these, it's like my house. I buy a house, say I build a house. It's a perfect house, it's ready to go, it's perfect. But in 5 years, 10 years, something's gonna break, it's gonna need painted or siding, or I need a new sump pump or whatever. To me, the city owns this house, it's a big city house. And if you, let's dissolve the DDA tomorrow, then we don't have to worry about money. There's still gonna be projects out there. I live in Harbor Springs. I want it to be a beautiful place. I think making the downtown beautiful, like when I go to Charlotte, I see all the flowers and everything. I love the flowers. I think it's really great. So who's gonna do it if the DDA doesn't do it? Then you have 8 people here that are not getting paid to bring and do research and bring, besides Barlow, getting all the ideas to the city. So if my wife had a staff of people that would do all the work for her and bring it to the city and then say, you pick in your budget what you want, I think that would be a benefit. I do think that we have to maintain the city, whether it be the roads or the infrastructure or the tree grades or Christmas lighting. I think permanent Christmas lighting on there. Look at the lights in this city. They suck. They are horrible. They're ugly. They make me cringe every time I see them. And so, but is the city not going to have to fix that up? So if that's going to be a project of the DDA, we don't have any money. We don't have parking like Petoskey that gets $400,000 a year to do it. So if the city wants to subsidize us, which they have each year, to get the free labor for the research, great. If they don't want to, I'm happy to spend my time in my office rather than here. So I guess it's up to the city what the city wants to do, what council wants to do. Because I don't want to do all this work and try to and think that the city or we're not a team. Are we a team? Like I think the DDA is not a DDA. The DDA is part of the city. Is the way I look at it. I would gladly step off this council and work on my business so I can make money. As you're sitting here, you can
Absolutely.
be sure doing something at your office as well that produces your business. But somehow we have to come to the conclusion that we are one big dysfunctional family that we want to continue to grow together.
To be fair, having a DDA allows us to capture money that not having a DDA would allow us.
And I think the
Correct.
finance committee needs to meet, the finance committee should meet and say, okay, these are our ideas. We did talk a long time about that restaurant tax or whatever, that also goes on the people that live here too, not just the people that come in town, but let's revisit that, we can. But something like the tree rate, the city, I feel that the city downtown is not what a resort community looks like. If I go to Tahoe or go to Vail or something, I really want to go and bring it. So that's just my personal opinion on this subject. And I think we need to find more money, but that's easier said than done.
I just want to, on the other projects where we've asked, we needed the city's involvement, I don't know where that is. Wayfinding within the CBD was paid for by the DDA. The city paid for the signs outside the CBD. They didn't pay for signs within. And we've got to answer that with taxpayers as well. We explain to people who live on Lake Street, no, your taxes did not pay for wayfinding in the CBD. The CBD business owners paid for it. And that does help us with answering questions and clarity and our focus. And Victor's right, if we didn't have a DDA, we wouldn't capture funds to use for downtown. But you bring up good points on finance, and if we think that the business community and the CBD community is willing to, wants us, if council wants us to go find more money, hey, we're all for it.
The $1 a day was hard enough to pass.
It was really, we had to have the hearings, Matt, those were not fun.
Right.
I'd love to do $2 a day or $10 a day would solve our problem.
Yes, it was.
And you know what, I'm in the CBD and I would pay that. I would gladly pay that, knowing how much we would capture at $10 a day. No, not $10 a day, but $5 a day, but whatever it is, I mean.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a hard sell, you know that.
But it shouldn't be a hard sell, because
It will be.
every time we go out and ask someone else's opinion, why do we go out and ask someone
Well, we have
else's
to.
opinion?
And when we're asking for tax money to come in, we have to. And then we have to go to council
So
after all of that
hopefully-
input, and you have to tell us whether or not we can go forward. So there are steps that we have to follow by law.
Yeah, then you get John Cup Senior that says no to everything. I mean, that's my frustration with all the steps we have to go through, and you sit over there, Matt, no offense, saying you're spending all our money. So you can see where this board right now is kind of like,
Surprise.
I don't know, I gotta go, I gotta open up a restaurant, I mean, I'm just,
Well, I'm just, I was on council for 6 years and mayor for almost 2 years now. And in that time, you guys have, the DDA has.
It's a we, you're on the DDA, remember?
I am, us.
Okay, thank you.
And we come up with all kinds of creative ways to spend money. And I think we need to come up with some creative ways to generate more money, whether it's tax or grant writing, or I don't know how to do it, but I think you need to put as much effort into making money as you do spending money, or we need to spend.
It's a good point. So Mario.
I do, yeah, I do, and I agree. I mean, I think that's what we're trying to do. I think this pursuit of the county TIF is a first step in generating money. I think looking, as we've talked with Nick and Victor and I, at do we go with a millage in addition to an assessment? I think we're starting, to make inroads, into doing that. And I agree. I think it's a valid point. I think we start looking at that and putting our effort into that as well. And
And part of it for the comfort level of the CBD district is that because we had been gone for so many years and we came back, and we need to prove ourselves before we ask for more money. And even though I feel we have, when we go out and ask for more money, we're gonna get pushback. So.
And I think it's
baby steps,
in,
but we don't know till we
in
try.
some ways, I think it's the same thing we're doing with the county right now, and that is showing the county, the great things that the downtown is doing, because it's going to in turn benefit them. And I think it's the same process that we have to do with the city, that, by us beautifying or doing things or projects or events, the things that draw people to the downtown make the Harbor Springs, the city in general, a greater place. And I think it's the same, it is the same process of letting people know, this is what you're getting for your money. So when we say we want to raise it to $5 a day or do the millage, they may be more receptive to it because they understand that it's going to benefit them in some way. And I think it's the same argument that we're making across the board. And I'd like us all to work together.
Let's pull the finance committee together, maybe ask Nick, and Becky might be there, or if you want to be there, whoever wants to be there.
Yeah.
Do you need anything from us?
No, do you need anything from me? That's why.
Do you have anything that you needed to bring up?
No, just, we're keeping the one, 15-minute parking behind in the cover lot. There's two back there. I did pull the one from between the covers because they were closed for a while.
They're back open again.
Okay, I'll try to get that down there. And then, any questions or concerns?
Can you increase the parking tickets to $100?
Wait a minute.
I hate to say that, we're writing a lot of parking tickets this year, a lot more than we ever have before.
And thank you for watching our block. It is so much better.
We're doing that.
Let's put that money in the DDA.
There you go. At least
my.
my block. Can you put my block in the DDA?
That's
My idea.
Kind of like retirement fund. No, sorry, Baker.
Thanks.
See ya.
Thanks, Matt. Okay.
All right.
Moving on to the director update.
Yes.
Website.
Yep, yes. So first, just a wayfinding update. The kiosk is, I let you know is available. The Main Street, the Chamber one is not being removed until fall.
Had I known that, I would have ordered the topper for that. I was so angry when I got that in, so I just didn't respond.
So which part?
I always order a top for that, and I didn't because I thought we were moving it, we've been discussing it for months, it didn't go. We have an outdated one on there, which drives me crazy.
Do you know why it wasn't?
I do.
removed?
I
Okay.
just wish somebody.
Because that's not the chamber. I didn't have a final decision on that.
I'm pulling it. I know, I just
And
would
that's
have,
fine to pull it, but it's not,
I know, I just
Okay.
would have, I would have made it look right if I had known that was gonna happen. It's not my favorite topic.
The new directory is available down at Simplicity. And so Kevin said that anytime if somebody's down there and wants to pick it up, we just need to let them know the date and he can make it available in his place to, so if any of you are making a trip there, let me know and want to pick it up or have where is Simplicity
I don't know.
exactly? Somewhere in Traverse City. I don't know. And if you have, I'm assuming you would need a truck or something because it's got probably a base and a sign and a post. You can't, it's got the post and whatever. But if you're going and you feel like you would like to pick it up.
It would save us $1,000.
Yes. Yeah, so he's got that. Okay, so the website, we're coming along. Oops, sorry. Lucy and I had a great session, kind of where she's kind of handing things over to me on the new website. And she's done just such a nice job. And so we worked and are making changes. We now have the Instagram is hooked up and it automatically feeds. You can go to the Instagram, the Facebook, and she is working on the business directory. She helped me to learn how to make some changes of my own, that I can start adjusting and removing things as we need them.
How soon will it be live?
She's working very quickly. So I think it's a matter of how much information we want on the business directory, what we feel like it needs before we can go live. I mean, I think she's got almost all of the websites and tags in it. In my opinion, I think we could probably go live, as long as we've got phone numbers and websites for each of the businesses.
And we could keep adding as.
Right,
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
fine with that.
yeah.
What's the Instagram one? When I search Instagram, I get the chamber and the city.
It's downtown_Harbor Springs.
Okay, is there a way when I search Harbor, it can pop up on Instagram for the
There
DDA?
should be an icon for.
There is on
No, I'm
this.
talking about if I go to Instagram and I search Harbor, what pops up is Harbor Springs, it's the area
don't know.
chamber,
I don't know how that
City.
works.
the football team, the mattress company, farmer's market.
You can ask Lucy, I'm
I
sure.
don't see the DDA popping up if I search Harbor.
But are you looking for a website? Or are you looking for, this website is not live,
I'm
that,
not looking for
Instagram.
on Instagram? So when you're on your Instagram, is that what you're asking?
I'm just going to Instagram and search.
There's probably a search engine way that she might.
I actually thought it was like 12 pages down, so it's weird that the chamber pops up number one.
Well, I think the chambers had theirs for much longer than we did
Yeah.
our Instagram, so I think that's how it sorts. I mean, I have
Right.
hundreds of posts and over 1,100 followers, I don't know.
Yeah,
So once you guys post more and gather more followers, and you'll get higher up on that list.
mhm.
Looks
It's
great.
not like a Google search. A Google search, you can mess with the,
Okay. I didn't know that.
yeah, but
Okay.
Instagram, they just go by most popular.
And then, so when anybody posts like hashtag Harbor Springs, that's what pops up you can click on it on the website and get different, what other people are doing. Anyone that would like to, if we have any thoughts as far as like language, verbiage and things like that I know Kathy did some, and we've looked at some of the,
I'm willing to do any of that.
and I can share, why is it
If
not?
you share the link to the non-active site, I'd be happy to go through it. Caitlin and I did that for a couple of websites. If you
So,
want the info.
oops, that's the city of Harbor Springs. That's not what I wanted. But like,
You have to give an authorization or something.
I can give you a read-only
Yeah.
version,
Maybe you could send that to everybody,
Yes.
on the board.
So,
Don't want too many cooks in the kitchen. but,
No. That's why I'd prefer it to be a read-only as opposed to being, but it's coming and we're getting there.
Would
As
you ask
far as-
about the business directory?
Yes.
I personally think that, address and phone number.
Website.
And website
If there's one, yeah.
or
And web-
Facebook, yeah, that's what she's doing right now and it's almost completed as far as having,
Yeah, I was
Um,
thinking contact name in my head, but
No,
it changes
no, it
so
changes.
often
yeah.
that,
Just basics.
So that's where we're at. I went ahead and Lucy and I talked and we agreed that to pay her $400 to finish the business directory. Just to give it a cohesive look and
Good.
that I just felt like it was right. I know the Mulders very generously donated, her efforts to building the website, but I thought it was fair that we were to do that. And I think we need to agree on, as she does consulting, like with me, or I know like when we did Ice Fest last year, we needed some things, added and I may be able to do them, or it may be just more effective for her to do that. And I think we need to agree on a price that we're willing to pay her as a consulting fee. She said that when she and I talked, she said, if it's more of like really easy, like the business directory, kind of just inputting stuff like that she would probably, that she would be willing to do it for $20 an hour. But if it was larger, like programming things, she would want it to be more at $30 an hour. So I just need to know what your thoughts are.
that's extremely reasonable
It is.
for a,
Yeah.
for a website, for a webmaster.
Is that, if you research, I have no idea. So I'm trusting you, but If we,
Yeah,
if we look across the marketplace, is that accurate? I mean, I really don't know.
I think it's fairly accurate. Actually, it is under, I mean, I did a little research on that. It is under, and it's ultimately, and not to speak for Margot, it's ultimately how you want Margot to use what's more effective. Margot using her time to do this or spending some money for someone to do this input stuff. I mean, it can be tedious. I mean, so it might not be like complicated work to just input things in the business directory, but at that rate, $20 an hour for a few hours.
Although if somebody wants to walk me through the back end structure, I do websites all day long, I can do it too.
There's also that option.
I just have a different format,
Yeah.
I'm sure, than you do.
And I think like I mean, she and I've talked and I know enough that like you can change basic thing, I mean, and so but I want to have an idea of where we're going forward,
I
not
can always
just,
be help there though.
okay.
You scrunch, but I'm more than happy to have the expert do it.
And we're good with those
Yeah.
prices? All right. The only other thing I have on my update is that we're planning to do, something I wanted to do before coronavirus was plan a merchants meetup. And so I'm thinking, Bonnie and I met, we talked about it. Bonnie would like the chamber to be involved, at least in this first one. And something for the end of September. And
A place where we can do that safely,
we were thinking even Zoom, if it could be a Zoom meeting, if we
Okay.
didn't, if we,
all right.
It'd
if
be
we
great
needed
to
to.
be able to get people together, but
Over what,
Yeah.
capacity is 40 in here safely?
40, it's 1/4, as of now it's 40, yeah.
Okay,
yeah. I mean, we could, if we felt like it was gonna be
I don't think we get more
bigger.
than 40.
that's it. I agree with you. I don't think we
Yeah, I
would.
don't think so either.
Okay.
But-
We did it at the historical society, that like right around for it.
Okay.
That was a few years ago. But I think, we could, or maybe even make people sign up and once you did 40 or.
That might
Mhm.
help people sign up.
Yeah.
Are there any other locations that we could do it at? The church?
Or the high, or the.
Yeah.
The high school auditorium?
Mhm. Yep, and I mean, I'm sure in the community center at the church, you could
Yeah.
definitely get a lot of people in there. Depends on how many we're even allowed, but I guess it's not really a social gathering, so.
Are you seeing it sort of as a roundtable type thing?
Yeah, and
Like a-
I spoke-
you run around and talk to different people?
Well, I know that this has happened in the past, that it had been going on, but I just think it's important, and when I've talked to a lot of other DDA directors and things, that this is happening regularly in other communities, just to get feedback from the merchants and what they'd like to see going forward. But also I've spoken with Jeff, and we also want to use it as a way to kind of pass along information, like seasonal information and things like that. Like he's got some things as businesses are planning to close up for zoning purposes that he would like to, have some of that information put out there as far as shutting down their businesses. And I think it's just a good way to have communication for everybody from both sides. So
How
that's,
often do you think we would do it?
We've always done them before, twice a year.
Yeah.
A wrap up and a startup.
mhm. That would work for me, unless people wanted
Yeah.
more. I can't imagine that they do,
You know,
but.
I would kind of like it to keep it within the CBD.
Mhm,
So that would be maybe the community center
Mhm.
at the Holy Childhood might be a space, we could do that.
Do you have any objections to not just the chamber being involved, but others outside of the CBD being invited?
Well, if it's, and the chamber's involved, and chamber members outside the CBD would be invited. I like the input from
Yeah,
others as well.
okay,
Typically, in the past, it was largely merchant, but it's helpful to have other input, like, Boyne Highlands or Lakes End, it's been helpful.
okay, good.
So it's a joint with that Gun Chamber and
Yeah.
DDA?
Okay. I don't know if we looked at the YouTube to see if there's any comments, just.
Oh,
I don't know.
that's a good idea.
Talk about our bylaws meeting.
Where'd it go?
It's, yeah.
Oh, there we go.
No comments.
We have no
Okay.
comments. Okay. So that's all I have for update. And then old business was bylaws.
Bylaws. So we did send around to everyone what Amy and I went through. And it's somewhat of a tedious process to go through this. Could take, close to an hour, depending on if anyone's read them and has comments besides Amy and I. And so we'd like to schedule a special meeting to go through that. Either like before the next meeting, Or, 7 AM, do that, roll into our meeting at 8, or another standalone? What do people want to do?
7 AM.
I'm fine with 7 AM.
Sure.
I feel with you, so. No, 7 AM will work.
7 AM.
Or if we,
Or if you wanted-
That works.
But if you want to do,
if you want to do an afternoon,
if you want to get your comments, I have the changes and comments from Amy and Kathy, and you've gotten those, but it would help too to, if you have more comments and things that you want to
And we
submit
can do it quicker.
beforehand,
We
yeah.
can do it in half
Yeah.
hour,
We
people
had a
come in.
meeting in
Yeah.
between our regular meetings, like planning commission meeting, I'm sorry. They put if we did 8 o'clock on whatever 2 weeks from now would be.
And it's not, and when you go through it, it's not difficult, and the
It's
changes that have made are things that we've talked about before, so nothing is gonna be, unique, and it's just making sure that there's clarity in roles and responsibilities, so I don't even think it would, when you read it, I don't even think it would take an hour.
I think it would take a half an hour.
I would
Yeah.
suggest,
But-
because ultimately to recommend council to,
Exactly.
is that you have any explanations as to why some of the changes are being made, so
Oh,
that,
perfect.
because I won't necessarily know from that.
Good idea.
So,
That's easy to do.
Yeah.
So we could do it next time at 7:30, I think, and get it. Does that give you an extra half hour of sleep?
That's great.
Okay, I think that would work.
Change all the,
Yeah.
calendar.
Sure, we can do that.
on the,
Yeah.
city website.
Well, speaking of that,
If we're gonna meet it, is it an open meeting thing, or is it a committee?
yeah, which
We'll
is,
put it on the
goes,
website.
but that goes to my next thing. I need to move if it's gonna work, and I would recommend it anyways, because it's heading into Labor Day. A weekend is is the September 4th meeting. I already know I'm not going to be here,
September 3rd.
or September 3rd. And, if we could go to the 10th,
That's fine.
that would be work for,
Yeah, that also lets us have a chance to recap of that on the Labor Day weekend.
So
Yeah.
7:30 and, oh, no. Yeah,
7:30.
that's the next one, 7:30 and.
And again, if anyone has comments, go ahead and give them to us. That would be helpful.
So are there 2 calendar places to change it? What did we find out, like, the meeting schedule was still shown for last Thursday, but events it was shown for this Thursday?
was that online that you saw that? Because I couldn't find it
I couldn't
online.
find it either.
I only found it out on the big board.
We have
Bill
so,
printed something off, he was just printing all the meetings off for all.
oh, Dan, that's, in January, the council approves, or we put together a list of all the regular meetings that are scheduled for the year, and that's just from January, so then we don't have, because it changes when you have special meetings, so that's not for special meetings, that's just for regular meetings, so then on the calendar, the online calendar, we update that whenever there's a special meeting, so you might have been looking at that sheet that we approved in January for all the dates for the regular meetings.
So that's not an open meetings issue of something?
No, but we're required by the Open Meetings Act to just have a proposed list of when all the regular meetings are gonna be.
Okay,
All I
that's it?
Yep.
All right, everyone. See you in September. Is there a song
Okay,
like that?
motion to
You can
adjourn.
sing it. Okay.
Hopefully we can find some
I'll let you know. That's probably-
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
calling,
you.
guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh, you got Cooper in there.
Cooper was at the wedding.
Oh, of course he was.
I don't know what.
Okay, this is why I don't like.
Look at,